Hi, my name is Tiago Duarte and welcome to another video tutorial here at Daily Beats. In today's video, I'm going to continue the Crash Course series, and today I'm going to talk about Sytrus, and we are going to see pretty much the basic stuff about Sytrus. Before we start, I would like to ask you to subscribe and activate the notifications so that you know when I upload new videos, and if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Also consider supporting my channel by buying one of my products at dailybeats.pt or become a premium or exclusive member, and you will have access to exclusive content about music production and also to the extended videos that I do here for YouTube. Also, this will be my last video on the crash courses. In the next one, I will show you how you can add plugins to FL Studio, and today we finish pretty much the crash course because I feel that we went through pretty much all the plugins that are the main plugins, at least that I use, and there are a couple more that we could talk about, but I don't have the full version, so I'm not going to do that right now. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and start the tutorial. So this is the layout of Sytrus, and we can expand it a little bit more, so we have a little bit more room here to work. Sytrus, it's a very powerful plugin. It has 6 customizable oscillators, or what we call here operators. It can perform FM, RM, ring modulation and amplitude modulation. It can perform subtractive and additive synthesis. It's a very powerful plugin. And here we have the main tab and the main menu. Then we have here on the top 6 oscillators or operators that I just mentioned. We have 2 filters, or actually we have 3 filters and an effects section. And as you can see, as soon as we click on a tab, we move to the different controllers of that function. In this case, for instance, the main one, we have the operator, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 filters, 2 filters, 3 filters, and FX. Then we have here on the right the matrix. This matrix here represents pretty much how you can manage the output of each operator and how each operator relates to each other. And this is where you can do very complex and very interesting things here. So let's talk about the main area here. As you can see, we have here a section with volume, LFO, and pitch. So I don't think I have to talk about this too much. We've covered volume, LFO, and pitch, what they are and what they represent. We have here an envelope for the volume, and then we also have an envelope for the filter. And inside of each one of these, we have attack, decay, sustain, and release. So we have here the unison section. And here we can set the unison order that we want. It can go from 1 to 9. And we have here the unison panning, where we can pan the voices that we are creating. The volume of the unison. Here we have the pitch. We have a sublevel and a phase and a unison envelope. And here we have a modulation where we can pretty much link all the X and Y parameters that we'll see in the operators. We can link them here and have this main panel controlling all the parameters of the X and Y in the oscillators. And let me see if we can also do that here in the pitch and the filters, and we can actually do that. As you can see here, we have mod Y and mod X, and if we apply something here, we will do also, we can see in the operators, you can see that we have both mod X, mod Y, and I don't want to get into that right now, but as you can see, we can pretty much update here the X and Y, and it will reflect those changes in whatever parameter that we choose, either in the filters or in the operators. Then we have here an EQ, and basically we have here the target of the EQ. It can be effects only, it can be the output only, it can be the output and the effects, or it can be completely turned off. And here you can see that we can have the type that we want. You can right click or left click and move the types. So here we have a low shelf. here we have a high shelf, and here we have peak filter. And basically we can set up pretty much whatever we want here. This basically works like the filter EQ2 from FL Studio. It's pretty much the same concepts reused over and over throughout all the plugins. Then we have here the frequencies that we can set. At this case is 138. Here the bandwidth, we can do the same for every 3 bands. So here in the quality area we have the HQ envelopes, and this basically increases the quality of your envelopes, and it also comes with a CPU cost. So if you turn this on, we can see that is render. When we want to render stuff, this will be on, which means that at render it will take more time, but it will have higher quality. And then we also do here for the oversampling, which enables oversampling in the order to increase the accuracy of the Sytrus rendering engine and to reduce aliasing. And as you can see here, when we render, we have 8 times oversampling, and here in the draft we have 2 times oversampling. Then we have a couple more options here that I'm not going to talk about. Okay, so now let's move to operators. And operators are basically oscillators. As you can see here, we have operator 1. If I play a note, we have just a simple sine wave here, as you can see represented through this white line here. And it's very simple. And as you go up and down, we have the normal sine wave. Then we can add, or we can modify the wave shape of the oscillator by clicking on these buttons here. And this one creates a half, which means that it uses the first half of the shape in the sound generation. As you can see, it only uses this part of the wave. If we do here even, it will basically use each odd phase of the shape, and the rest is silence. And then we have here, it will use only the positive part of the shape, which is the absolute value of the shape. And you can pretty much combine all the buttons here, all the knobs. And as you can see, we can do pretty much everything. And if we start doing something like this, we can see that we don't have now a pure sine wave, we have something else. And you can see also here. Okay, so now we can see that we don't have now a pretty simple sine wave. It's now a mix of something else. It's not a pure sine wave, and we can see here by the amount of harmonics that we have now in the, or the amount of content that we have now in this shape. And if we go back to sine wave, we can see that we only have just one there here. And that's basically it for the shape preview window. Then we have the shape modifiers here, and we have the shape, the tension, and the shape allows to morph the shape to sine, triangle, and pulse. And as you can see here, now we have a triangle, and now we have a pulse, something like that. Now this is more like a pulse, and this is very harsh. So let me lower here the volume of FL Studio, because this might be very harsh. Sorry about that. Okay, let me see the volume, maybe even lower. Okay, so that sounds better. And as you can see, now we have a pulse. We can go for the middle, which is a square wave, and we can go for the, this is probably a sawtooth, yeah. And then we have the triangle, which is more soft, or softer than the square and the saw wave. And then we have the sine wave. So this is basically it. Then we have here the tension, which sets the tension or distortion of the bass operator shape. And if we go here, we can see that we can decrease pretty much. We can add some distortion to the wave shape here. So you can pretty much shape the wave as you want and create complex shapes based on just these 2 knobs. Then we have the skew, which allows you to skew the bass operator. And if we see this, it basically creates this type of shape here, which basically skews this first part here. And you can see that it puts the sine wave very close together, basically skewing the entire sine wave or squeezing the sine wave into just the middle part here, as you can see here. Then we have the sine shape, basically applies a transform which is useful for certain patch types, such as bells. And as you can see, we can have, it creates these funky waves here. So as you can see already, we have a lot of flexibility just with these 4 knobs. You can create complex shapes, and we can actually automate these knobs to create even crazier sounds. And movement, we can also automate movement here and create movement in just a simple chord, something like that, as you can see. Yeah, then we have the pre-filter, and this is basically applies a smoothing low pass filter to the shape. So if we have, let's say we have this, and so we are applying a low pass filter to the sine wave here, or not the sine wave, to the shape that we are creating. So if the shape has a lot of high frequencies, you can reduce them here with this simple pre-filter. Okay, then we have the noise, which basically just adds some white noise to the oscillator, and we can see it here in the spectrogram adding the white noise. So we can remove it. Then we have here 3 options. One is to center, which basically removes any DC offset. We have the click, which applies a special filter to avoid clicks when starting a voice or when this oscillator starts. And then we have a band limit, which bends the limit of the waveform. Then we have the phase here. The phase basically sets when the voice starts, and you don't see any effect here, but pretty much it determines when at which point the sine wave starts when you trigger a note in the oscillator or in this operator. And for instance, instead of starting at 0, it might start at half here at 90 degrees, and it might start at the top, and or 180 degrees might start here. Of course, this is not degrees, it's percentage, but I'm assuming 50% will be 0 here, and 25% will be 90 degrees, and it will be there at that point here in time. Then we have a very important knob, which is the volume, and here we can set pretty much the volume to 0, and we will have no output. And you can also invert the phase of the oscillator. Now you don't see any difference here, but if you have, for instance, 2 oscillators, let's do that example for you to understand what's going on. So we have operator 1 going with a positive volume like that, and we are going to set operator 2 to go in the negative volume like that. And if they have the same parameters here, what's going to happen is that they will cancel each other. So let's do the same thing here. Let's add operator 2 to the output. As you can see, operator 2 goes to the output, and we will talk about the matrix a little bit later in the video. And now if I go here, if I play a note, we have the double of the volume. But if I now put this all the way down, and of course if I put the volume of the operator 1 to the maximum, positive maximum, now I'm clicking on notes and I have nothing. Why? Because this operator is going positive and this operator is starting negative. So when they are played at the same time, they start to cancel each other. And the same thing goes for the phase. Now if I increase the phase, we can start to hear some sound. Why? Because now they are not starting from 0. This one here, it starts a little bit later, and this creates a difference in the waveform. And now we can see that we have some volume here. So let's say we put the phase now here to 50%. Now if we go to minus 100% here in the volume, now we can sell again. Why? Because we put the phase to start, instead of starting at this point, to start in the middle at this point here. And because operator 2 is starting negative, and this one was starting from here and was starting negative, and we inverted the phase or the volume of the operator 2, what's going to happen is that now operator 2 will start positive from the middle to the rest of the wave shape, and now they will cancel each other again. So I hope this was clear. It might be a little bit confusing at the time, but imagine the volume knob here. Let's actually remove this. Imagine the volume knob being the polarity of the oscillator. So if we have a volume, positive volume, then it will go like this. And if we have a negative volume like that, then it will go the opposite of what is represented here. Unfortunately, we don't have a representation of what's going on outside of the oscillator, which will be nice. But yeah, it is what it is. And we can at least imagine and start thinking in terms of this type of scenarios, which can be very helpful when you are sound designing. Then we have here the frequency offset and the frequency ratio. And basically what this says is how much a note will be multiplied by and offset by. So if we play C4 and we have 2 here, then we are playing this note here. Let me play it in the keyboard. If I put 3 here, it will be an octave higher, 4 octave higher, 5, and so on. So if you want higher octaves, we have to put like this, and let's put it at 2 or even 1. 1 will be the lowest one. So you can see bass note and here. So what's going on is that it takes this note here and multiplies it by 2. So if I take the note after, which is D, it will multiply that by 2 in terms of the frequency of the oscillator. And then we can also add here some offset if we want to just tweak the pitch of the frequency manually. So let's say we have here, I want to add 50 Hertz offset. And now you see the difference. And basically what this is doing is adding some offset, and you can play around with these parameters here. Then we have, I'm not going to explain for the others because it's the same thing for all the operators. So if I explain to one operator, you will understand for all the other operators. And then we have here the section where we have these controls. And in these controls, we have 2 sections, the top section and the bottom section. Here are the top tabs and the bottom tabs. And here in the top tabs, you can select pan, volume, modulation, pitch, phase, dampening, and oscillator. And if we start with panning, you will see that for every tab that we have here in the top, we will have the same configuration for here at the bottom. So let's say I want to apply an envelope for the volume and a different envelope for the panning. What I'm going to do is to select the tab of volume, I go to envelope and I activate the envelope. And now I have this envelope applied to the volume of the oscillator or of the operator. So if I click now, let's make this a little bit more dramatic so that you really feel the difference. Let me add a little bit more harmonics so that we can hear it much better. And let's maybe decrease this a little bit further, like that, so that we can see it actually here in the spectrogram. And let's go with a long decay or longer release actually. Let's put this here and let's put that there. So as you can see, it's a very, very long release and a very long envelope. I think I reset this, which I don't know, that was not my intention. Let's put it here and let's extend this. Okay, and now let's do that. And what I want you to do, oh no, basically I moved to operator 2. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I want this one here. And I thought I had reset this. And let's go an octave higher and let's play a chord. And you can see here basically what's going on here. We have an increase of the oscillator or the envelope, increase to the peak, and then decreases a little bit when I keep the note playing. And then when I release the notes, it starts fading out. And if we do it again, you see pretty much this envelope here, shape represented here. And it's basically what's going on here. You can select whatever envelope you want, and you can set very complex envelopes here. You can also do, for instance, sequencing here. For instance, let's say that we want to go with, you can also add points. Let's say we want to do something like that. Let me see if I can put this like that. Yeah, now we have grids. Let me delete this point. Let me add another one. Let's delete this one, add another one. And actually, I'm going with that one. Okay. Let me delete this one also, and this one also, and this one also. Okay, like that. And I want one here, another here. Oops, got it wrong. Okay, another one here. And let's keep it like that. So now if I play, now you see that it plays this envelope, and let's actually keep this going down because I don't want it to go up. And if I play it again, and you will have this crazy shape here that you can pretty much do whatever you want with it, which sounds quite nice actually. I could work with this. Okay, I'm just having some fun with it, and that's basically it. One of the things that I would like to just point out is just to have fun with this, and that's basically it. You can apply envelope to the volume, you can apply LFO, you can apply key mapping, velocity mapping, mod X, mod Y. This I told you here about the modulation, and the random mapping and unison mapping. I'm not going to go into details on this because yeah, that goes a little bit of the context of Crash Course. But again, you can pretty much go and do the same thing for the panning. And you can see now that we have some volume. When we activate something in the volume tab, we can see now that it is a little bit yellow here. And for instance, we also have pan damping, which has some configurations here. We can do the same thing for the envelope. So we could add here an envelope to the panning, a LFO to the panning, key mapping, velocity. Again, you get the drill, at least I hope you do, that you can select whatever tab you have here, and you can pretty much activate whatever function you want. And then we have this one here, which is a special one, the oscillator tab. And as you can see here, we have just one pulse, but we could manually add another pulse here, for instance, like here. And we can see that we now created a different type of shape. And what you can do basically here is to add different harmonics with different amplitudes. So as you can see here, I'm in a more harmonic 11, and if we play this now, it sounds different. So let's remove these harmonics. Okay, we can even put it negative. We can put the even ones. Okay, we can pretty much create the type of shape that we want, and we can actually do something like that to create some really complex shapes. So that's basically it. This oscillator one here is a very powerful tab also, and as you can see now we don't have the other options here as we have, for instance, for the volume with these knobs or with these options here. This oscillator is a unique one because you can add harmonics and you can add whatever volume you want for that harmonic, and you will have a completely different type of sound. Okay, then we have the filter section, and basically this is pretty much the same. We have here some type of filters. We have we can select the filter that we want: state variable, low pass, high pass, vanilla low pass, and Mongo low pass, Cherry phaser. We can add pretty much what type of filter we want. We can disable it, put it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then here alternate 2 times and alternate 3 times. So you can pretty much configure or articulator. So if you want a stronger filter, you go and put it 3 times. If you want a softer filter, you put it just 1 time. And then you have here the HQ, which means that the oversample needs to be enabled in the main tab here, as you can see here for the HQ envelopes. And you can enable that one, is that will enable for this filter when that option in the main tab is enabled. And we also have here alternate resonance, bandwidth or mode, and this will make it a little bit flatter. Then we have here the filter types. We have envelope, cut, and resonance. So we have here the filter. As you can see, we can set the cutoff frequency, we can set the resonance, and we also have here a wave shaper, and you can turn it on. And if I turn it on, you see that we have this wave that we can select. We can add points. We can do pretty much whatever we want. We can also add a positive and a negative, and you can pretty much do the modes where you can select what you want for the positive and what you want for the negative. And here is the wave shaper preamp and the mix amount. That's basically it for this one here. And if we go here for the volume, we have the same options for everything except the wave shaper, and we also have this for the wave shaper mix. So we can pretty much automate or configure every single parameter that we have with an envelope or with some LFO, mod X, mod Y, and whatever we want here. So we have a lot of customization, and that's why this plugin, it can be a little bit daunting and hard to work with. Then we have here the matrix, and for instance, if you want to apply a filter to the output, to the operator 1, if you just enable here, and if you, let's say I want a low pass, and if I start playing here with a low pass, you see that nothing is happening. And this can sometimes be a little bit frustrating because you are moving knobs that you know it's a low pass filter, you know how it works, but it's not applying any configuration or any effect to the sound. And that's because here of the matrix. And the matrix is a very complex thing, but it can also, after you understand it, you will start to see how it works. And we have pretty much here the oscillators and the operators, and we have the same thing here for the top. And what this does is like this represents operator 1, operator 2, operator 3, and so on. And this is, for instance, the filter. So let's say I want to send operator 1 to the filter. What I have to do is to remove operator from the output, and if I play now notes, you see that nothing is playing on the output. And let's say I want to send operator 1 to the filter. I have to go here to the filter 1 and tell which of these operators will be added to this filter. In this case, I want operator 1, so I go here and start adding a little bit of the operator, in this case the maximum of the operator. And now if I play, I have nothing still. And what I have to do is to send this F1, which is the filter one, to the output. And now I have to go here to this one and start sending some, or I will send the maximum, but I can send just a little bit. And again, this is the same thing as I explained for the volume. You can have positive and negative values, and this basically just switches the phase. Okay, and now we have the cutoff here working. And as you can see, it can be a little bit frustrating in the beginning if you don't know what's going on and you want to apply a low pass filter but you don't know why, or any type of filter and you don't know why. The same thing goes for effects. And here, if we want to send effects, actually we don't have an effect here for the matrix, but we have here. So let's say in the effect panel I want to add some reverb. What I do now is I apply the output of F1 and I add it to the reverb, to the filter section. And now I have some reverb. If I want to add some, let's say some delay, let's go to delay, one on here. And this is actually what's going on. And I was going to talk about I forgot about the effects tab, and this again, it's pretty much the same. You have here some chorus, you have reverb, and we have 3 delays. And yeah, that's pretty much it. The reverbs here and the delays have their own values, but if you have been working with FL Studio and working with delays and reverbs, you pretty much know what these knobs represent. And then we can also do some panning and volume automation here with these tabs here. As you can see, it's very customizable and also very complex. And this is how basically the matrix works. So let's say now that we want to modulate operator 1 with itself. And what we can do here is go to this one and this one, to the first knob, and start adding some values. And you can see that now operator 1 is FMing itself. Okay, let's say we want to add operator 2 to FM the operator 1. And what we have to do now is just go here and start adding operator 2 to operator 1. And this will modulate operator 1 in the frequency modulation realm or domain, let's say. And if we go here, if we go up, we can go down and we can add some type of crazy shapes. We can add a lot, add less, maybe go with a lower frequency so that the sound is more, that we can hear it more. And that's basically it. You can now pretty much with the mixer or the matrix mix all the operators together, FM, or apply some ring modulation here. We can also do some ring modulation. In this case we are just doing FM modulation, but if we go here we have the RM. So that's basically it here regarding here the matrix. As we can see, we can pretty much control every single parameter of every oscillator or operator and filter and effects. And I hope you get the idea. It can be a little bit tricky in the beginning if you are seeing this matrix for the first time, but after messing around with it a little bit and after trying some stuff, you will see that it's not that complicated. You just have to get the mechanics of it, of the matrix, so that you can use it as you want and not let the complexity of the system dictate what you can do or not do. That's basically it, and the same goes for everything here in Sytrus. The more you understand the concepts, the better equipped you are to do whatever you want in this complex plugin. But after a little bit of messing around, after seeing some of tutorials, after going through the documentation in the provided by FL Studio, which I strongly recommend you do, you can start seeing some lights at the end of the tunnel, and you can start seeing how this plugin is very powerful and you can take advantage of it very much. Doing a resume of what we talked, we have the main window here where we control the main functions or the main functionalities of the plugin. Then we have 6 operators or 6 synths that we can control individually. Then here inside we have a couple of options for the wave shape that we have in this operator, or in each operator in this case, because everything will be the same for all the operators, as you can see. Then we have here some options to control panning, volume, modulation, pitch, phase, dampening, and the oscillation or the oscillator. And here you can customize even more the waveform that you want for the current operator. Then we have the filters, where you have a bunch of filters here that you can choose from. You have to, if you want to use the filter, you have to send the oscillator to the filter or the operator to the filter that you want, and also send the output of the filter to the output of the plugin. So be aware of that. Also, we have a wave shape here built in the filter, and again we can do some pretty much the same things that we can do in the operators. We can automate everything here in terms of panning, volume, cut, resonance, low, band, high, and wave shape or wave shape mix. Yes. And then we have 3 filters which are the same for everyone, or the panel for one, it's the same for the others. And then we have the effects, where you have some chorus, some reverb, and 3 delays that you can choose from. And here we have some panning and volume automation that we can implement. And that's basically it, guys. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you took something from this video. The plugin is very complex, but if you break down into areas and you understand small areas, then it becomes really easy for you to start getting a grasp of what this plugin is all about. And when you start to understand the mechanics of the operators, the filters, and the matrix and the effects, then you will be able to start creating your sounds as you want, and you will be able to take advantage of pretty much everything inside of Sytrus and this amazing plugin, because with a lot of complexity it comes also a lot of control, and the more control you have over your sounds, the better equipped are you to do some design. So if you want to do some crazy sounds here, you can do them here. It doesn't have to be crazy, it can be experimental or whatever. If you want to do some sound design with Sytrus, these are the main things that I believe that you should understand and how they behave, so that you can take the most advantage of the thing that you want to do regarding sound design. If you are new here to this channel, consider subscribe and activate the notifications so that you know when I upload new videos. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below. Also consider supporting my channel by buying one of my products at dailybeats.pt, or become a premium or exclusive member, and you will have access to exclusive tutorials about music production, and also to the project files of the tutorials that I do here for YouTube, and also the complete videos basically. And there are some project files, there are some extra videos about music production, mixing, mastering, a lot of stuff that you can take and learn and improve your learning in terms of music production. That's it, guys. My name is Tiago Duarte, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.